heritage won for us through the blood and toil of our fathers. And I pledge myself in all peace to uphold and defend the good name of Ghana. So help me God. I promise to hold in my esteem our heritage won for us through the blood and toil of our fathers. And I pledge myself in all things to uphold and defend the good name of Ghana. So help me God.
Thousands of mourners in Mozambique have been filing past the body of President Samora Machel, which is lying in state in Maputo City Hall. Meanwhile, a joint Soviet and Mozambican delegation has arrived in the South African border town of Komati Port to begin investigations into the air crash which killed the president. A Foreign Affairs spokesman in Maputo said the 26-man delegation will hold talks with South African officials before visiting the crash site. A flag-raising ceremony was held in Accra today to mark the celebrations of the 41st anniversary of the United Nations. The theme for this year is World Security and Economic Advancement for Mankind. After the flag-raising ceremony, an exhibition in connection with the anniversary was opened at the Central Library. Our reporter Abna Kunet Yajimang was at the two functions and now reports.
In about 4 decades, the membership of the United Nations has more than tripled, from 51 to 159. The countries represented in the organization account for more than 98% of the world population. The PNDC Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Dr. Obeda Samwa, and the Director for the United Nations Information Center, Mr. Alexander Titov, inspected a parade of 48 men and 2 officers of the Ghana contingent of UNIFIL. Later, the two hoisted the Ghana and United Nations flag. The flags were made to fly at half-mast in memory of the late President Samora Machel of Mozambique. Delivering a message from the UN Secretary-General, Mr. Titov said there is the need for just and peaceful settlement of regional disputes, a joint effort to reduce armaments and advance human rights, for which the United Nations provides an organized structure.
We witness an overarmed, over-militarized world haunted by the nuclear threat, scarred by violence and plagued by prison and drug abuse. It's a world in which millions are trapped in poverty and vast numbers suffer oppression, a world in which conflicts fester and extremism finds easy breeding ground. Most certainly, it is not a world in which, for the future of humankind, the United Nations can be regarded as marginal or irrelevant.
Dr. Obeda Samwa described regional conflicts as hotbeds of tension in the world and said Ghana is ready for any initiatives by the UN and other peace-loving groups to ensure peaceful and negotiated settlement of all conflicts in the world. Dr. Samwa expressed regret at the decision by some governments to withdraw financial support to the UN and its specialized agencies. These governments, he said, are also seeking to bypass the UN as an instrument of dispute settlement, an act which threatens to damage the credibility and survival of the organization.
The United Nations deserves support, not denigration. It deserves understanding, not abuse. What we must do is to try to build upon its achievements and endeavor to eliminate its shortcomings. On the occasion of the 41st anniversary celebrations of the United Nations, therefore, we call upon all countries, particularly the major powers, to uphold the principles and purposes of the organization. The United Nations is for all countries, both large and small, and it is through its collective wisdom and action, national security and the prosperity of mankind hold promise of achievement. On the occasion of the 41st anniversary of the founding of the United Nations, Ghana renews her commitment to and faith in the UN as the best hope for mankind to avoid the ravages of war and ensure peace and prosperity for this generation and generations yet unborn.
From the flag-raising ceremony, invited guests, including members of the diplomatic corps, moved to the Central Library for the opening of an exhibition of posters as part of the activities marking the day. Its theme is Formula for Peace. Among the posters are those on activities of women in the various member countries, African nationalists, and effects of nuclear warfare. The one-week exhibition was mounted by the National Ad Hoc Committee for UN Day celebrations. This has been Abuna Kunedu Ajima.